Ladies and gentlemen, we got Sam Richter in the house. Please welcome Sam Richter. Hey, I told you it was going to be loud, didn't I?
Yeah, that was great.
All right, welcome everybody. This is Leaders Lead the Podcast. I like showing that off.
That's pretty cool.
Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome to the show. We got Sam Richter in the building. Sam is a legend in speaking. He's modest, but he is a legend. I got his bio and I'm just like, oh my God, there is so much that I can tell you about this man. He has his own Wikipedia page. That is big stuff. But let me tell you a little bit about Sam. He is a Hall of Fame business and sales keynote speaker, best-selling author, leading authority in sales and intelligence. Like, that's true. Leading authority. He is a legend. Digital reputation manager expert, custom search, sales, and prospecting technologies. That does it no justice. Before we start, I'm going to show everybody some good footage of you, just so that they can know who we dealing with.
All right.
The internet has changed the way we do our business because our prospects don't need us to take them out for lunch. They don't need to learn about us because they have the ability to go online and search on us. So if our prospects, if our buyers have buyer's intelligence, what are you doing to know the other person before you walk in the room?
Wow. That lets us know who we're dealing with right there. That lets us know. How are you doing, Sam? Wait a second. I can't hear you.
I turned off the mute, hit the mute button, so I wouldn't get an echo in the video. No, things are great. Yeah, things are wonderful. It's fall season is one of my favorite. There's I live out in Minnesota here, and you're in the west over in Seattle, so probably very similar, just beautiful, 75-degree days, 65-degree nights. So it's one of my favorite times of the year, plus football season.
Wow. I didn't hear the Minnesotan accent. Wait, yeah, I did a little bit.
Oh, a little bit. Oh, I'm just from, old Minnesota.
Oh man.
Oh boy, Tony, it's so nice to be on your show, Tony. This is such a good time. Thank you.
Oh man, I love it. I got some friends and family that live in Minnesota, and the accent, dude. I freaking love it. I love it. Welcome to the show, man. It's an honor. I came across your material. I would say probably about a year ago.
Okay.
A year ago. And this is when I had first said, you know what, I'm to the point where I'm going to take speaking 100% full time because I just couldn't juggle work and the speaking. It had just kind of overtaken itself. And I run across different speakers. And this is my affirmation to you. I think you're a legend, right? I'm going to say that. So I run across different speakers, and I'm just, trying to figure out a pattern to myself. This was years ago, figure out a pattern. I'm like, okay, I love this pattern. I love this. I love that. But there was a key element that I was missing in my business. And that key element was the sales of it. Like, how do I actually get customers? How do I actually, get people in the door to him? It does me no good if I'm just talking behind the camera at home with nobody to listen to. And I ran across you, and oh my freaking God. Oh my God. I'm like, this guy, I should have been listening to you in the beginning. I love the way that you explain your speaking pattern when it comes to sales, when it comes to building the customer relationship. And dude, I just, you're a god when it comes to speaking. You know that, right?
Oh, thank you very much. But you're exactly right. It doesn't matter. I mean, you can be the best speaker in the world. You can be the best musician, the best artist, the best anything, best inventor, come up with the best app, whatever it is. But if no one knows about it, nobody cares. And so, people will often think that sales is a bad word. Well, I'm not going to be in sales. Well, you're always having to sell your ideas to somebody. Sometimes we have to sell our ideas to ourselves, right? But sales has a negative connotation, and it really doesn't need to. In fact, I really think sales is a very noble profession, because what you're really doing, if you're doing sales well, you're not trying to convince somebody to buy something that they normally wouldn't buy. Rather, you're saying, hey, what's going on in your world? What are you trying to achieve? And could what I offer help you achieve your goals a little bit more efficiently, more profitably, more effectively than you might be able to do on your own? And if you think about your speaking world, Tony, I mean, it's really, there are people that have conferences. They have, whether it's a big association conference or a small company conference, and you have to ask yourself, is your story, is your message, is your content going to help them achieve their goals? Now, their goal might just be to have an amazing motivational speaker with an incredible story to pump people up. Maybe their goal is to get some content so they can grow their business, whatever it might be. Can your solution help them achieve their goals faster? So it's really a mindset. You're not selling, you're providing other people value based on your value.
Wow. I love that you said that. It's a mindset. On this podcast, I love Leaders Lead the Podcast, because it's an education process, not only for my listeners and the viewers. It's an education process for me, because this journey, as far as being an entrepreneur, is like no other. There's nothing that can get you ready for this. So I love what you do and the way that you break down sales, because I was one of those people that were just like, oh, sales, here comes a saleswoman, here comes a salesperson, and I'm just like, oh my God. But the way that you explain it, it doesn't sound like slime bally at all.
Right. And when you think about it, it's in all aspects of sales, right? If you go to a store and someone wants to, you're looking to buy a pair of pants, I actually kind of get annoyed when someone comes up and says, may I help you? And then I might even say, no, thank you, I'm just browsing. Ask a couple of probing questions, right? Well, hey, you came to the store, and it's probably a bad way to say it, but what are you looking for? Because maybe I can just guide you in the right direction, and just know that I'm going to be here to help you when you have questions. And it's certainly, and again, in your world, being an entrepreneur, being a speaker, I mean, you're always having to sell yourself to bankers, to potential investors, to potential employees, not to mention customers.
Yeah, and even people just to get on the podcast.
For sure.
To get people like yourself, like a legend like yourself. I mean, you're not just going to go on any podcast. So I got to let you know that I mean good intention. Like, yeah. I'm a person that could be trusted. I was going to ask you, there's one thing that I saw when I was looking at that clip. I saw the way that you just commanded the stage. You were brilliant. It was amazing. Yeah. Have you ever had that kind of that confidence? Did you have that like all the way up to this point, and it's just like nothing for you?
Oh, I wish that were true. I'm actually an introvert by nature. I mean, I got into this whole business because, I started out as a journalism graduate and really wanted to pursue advertising copywriting, or said another way, I wanted to be locked in a closet and write all day. And I became a creative director for an ad agency. And all of a sudden I had to go out and sell myself and sell my ideas. And that really was the journey that began learning about other people. That's when I first read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, that it's all about others. It's all about relationships. And so, commanding a stage is, I think, that really came from confidence, having probably spoken 1,000 times. But one of the things I also do is there's a lot of great speakers that I admire, and I watch their videos I go to their conferences. When I speak, the beautiful thing is there is other speakers at the conference. So I go try to listen to them, but I also watch them on video. And when I'm watching it on video, I almost break it down like game film. Like how do they stand? Where do they walk? How far left and right do they go? When do they pause? Where do they put their hands? It's a lot of those little things. It's really the art of speaking. So there's delivering a great speech, and then there's being an actor and actress on stage. And I think as a professional speaker, you have to be a little bit of both.
Wow. I love that you say that, because, I was looking at a little bit of Dale Carnegie's information, and I'm like, wow, that is everything that pulls me into speakers when I listen to them. How do you get that influence? How do you have that command presence? How do you connect with the people? And I love that you said that you were an introvert. There's a lot of people that reach out to me and they say, man, the way that you did that speech was brilliant, was beautiful. You're a natural. And I almost like cringe, because it's not natural.
Right. You know what it is? It's 20 years of work. So it becomes a natural.
Do you still get nervous?
I'm nervous. I've never really gotten nervous, but I do get butterflies because, and I've always told myself that the day that I'm not butterfly-ish or excited, so it's probably nerves, but it's more of excited nerves, is the day I'm going to get out, because that means I'm just not having any fun. You really have to look at what you do for a living as a professional speaker is I have the opportunity to, even though I speak about business and sales and technical things, I have the ability to influence lives, improve lives. People are, and there's I think it was Joe DiMaggio. I think who's the guy that hit? It was Joe DiMaggio that hit 400. There was another famous baseball player. I'm going to screw it up. I just can't remember his name.
You're asking the wrong guy.
somebody asked him. Anyhow, somebody asked him. They said, after all these years of being an amazing baseball player, why do you come out and work so hard every day? 160 games a year. And his answer was, because there might be one young child in the stands who's never seen me play before, and that kid deserves my best. And that's kind of the mentality I have, is because there were times, when we speak where I'd look at the stage and before me was a president, and the room would be filled with 3,000 people. And then there'd be a 5-minute break, and now they're going to introduce their next speaker and me. And there's this huge sucking sound of everybody leaving the room. And there's like 30 people left in a room that seats 2,000 or 3,000. But those 30 who stayed deserve your best, your absolute best every time. And, I presented in front of huge packed auditoriums of 10,000. And I've presented in the back of an Outback Steakhouse before, and everybody deserves your best all the time.
Oh, I love that. That reminds me of one of my mentors. I was telling him when I first got into it, I was like, man, I had a presentation, it was okay. It was okay. There was only about, 15, 20 people in there. And he was like, wow, really? He goes, I bet you killed it. And I'm like, did you not just hear what I said? But then what he turned around and said, no, you're looking at it the wrong way, because you should be fortunate to have those people come to want to hear you, even if it's one person.
For sure.
Right?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. So I always ask people, like, on this podcast, Leaders Lead, leaders are leading from within. And I believe that leaders at some point have had to overcome many obstacles to get to where they're at today. Do you have any of those, like any examples of obstacles that you've had to overcome?
It's interesting you asked that. I think that one of the abilities that leaders have to overcome obstacles is they have, some people call it boxcar thinking or file cabinet thinking. I mean, I've had a lot of bad days, a lot of obstacles. And when you overcome them, I just oftentimes you learn from them, but the experience, the emotional experience, I put in a file cabinet and I file away. So when you ask that, I have to think about it a little bit, but I would say every day there's an obstacle. I build technology, I build search engines, and sometimes I sit down and I'm like, this is going to work, and it doesn't work. And I can't figure out why it doesn't work. And it might take me 2 or 3 days. I mean, it drives my wife crazy. It takes me 2 or 3 days to figure out why it doesn't work, but then it works and things are good. Or right now in the times that we live, there are obstacles every day. I mean, people are canceling conferences or they're going virtual. So there's those kinds of obstacles. Certainly, we've all had obstacles in our personal life. I know you had some really tough ones, obstacles that you've overcome in your personal life. And I think it's not to minimize any of those, but a lot of it does have to do with your attitude. And, if you look at your success, there's no way you could have done it without a positive attitude. That doesn't mean you're not going to have bad days. You
just made my day. I just had Sam Richter say that I was succcessful. There we go.
Of course you are.
The legend. Go ahead, brother.
No, but of course you are. But the point is that and this is tough because it gets into, how people think and mental health and things like that. And I'm certainly not sitting here saying that you can think your way out of being depressed or sad or anything. That's not what I'm talking about. What I am saying is that we all have struggles, and certainly in business in particular, you really need to just focus on the things that you can control and really have that mindset to overcome some of those struggles.
Wow. What about when we're talking about mindset? Mm-hmm. What type of mind? I'm sure you've heard no quite a bit.
More often than yes, that's for sure.
What does it take? What does it take to keep going when you're knocking on a door, somebody open the door and they say, no, thanks, Sam. We don't need you. What does that take?
Well, for me, it's almost a competition. It's like, okay, that's fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to prove to the next person that you guys made a really bad decision. So I don't get competitive in the sense of, I get all angry, but just competitive that I believe in what I do. And if you don't, one of two things. If you don't, my competitive nature kicks in, but then my thoughtful nature also kicks in because I do know that what I do for a living provides others value. And if someone says no, I also try to be introspective and say, well, I must not have communicated my value to them effectively, or more likely, I must not have asked good enough questions on the front end because I didn't understand what they cared about. I didn't understand what their issues, because I did a poor job of aligning my solutions to what they cared about. So when I hear no, my initial reaction is get competitive and drive even more. But then I also have to look back and be introspective and say, why did they say no? And what did I fail at in the process?
Wow. You seem like a man that loves what he does. Am I picking that up correctly?
Yeah, I do. There are days, like all of us, as an entrepreneur, right? I mean, I looked at the calendar and I was like, oh, wow, Monday's Labor Day. I get the day off. And then I thought, no, I don't, because I run my own business. I'm an entrepreneur. I don't get the day off. I'm sure I'll take a few hours off, but I don't get the day off. And that's the hard part of being an entrepreneur that most people don't understand as well.
Wow. I love that. I want to tell you thank you. I want to tell you thank you. And I didn't tell you this before because I wanted to tell you on air, but you have a product that is kicking butt right now.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, dude. I used your search engine and I paid for it. And then I'm just like, just like anything, you buy something, you start having that buyer's remorse a little bit, and then you start using it. But dude, I cracked this thing open, and within the first 3 days, I had already made my money back. And I'm not just saying that to sell the product, but I wanted to tell you, thank you for that, because it is killer. You want to talk about that? The search engine that you got?
So what I speak about, one of the main topics I speak about, and I guess what I'm best known as is what's called sales intelligence, which is just a fancy way of saying there's all this information that's out there on all of us. How do you find it effectively? and then use the techniques, use the tools that we have like social media and Google to learn about another person's company, their industry, what's going on in their world. So as we've been talking about, you can align your solutions to what you believe they care about, and you do that by asking intelligent questions. And so when you know about people, and this kind of gets back to the Dale Carnegie, you really establish trust, differentiate, and again, gain permission to ask great questions. Well, over the years, like many speakers, you create your online university, which I have, the online learning. And I was in the shower where, Tony, right, most of our great ideas come in the shower, is
or right before you're getting ready to go to bed.
Exactly, or right, so you don't sleep.
Yeah.
And I thought, what video should I produce? And I thought, nobody wants a video. What they want is a search. They just want the answer. And so what I've developed is a whole family of custom search applications. And the easiest way to think about it is it's like a custom Google, in the sense of, if you could go to, Larry Page, the founder of Google, and say, Larry, Google's great when I'm looking for movie reviews and restaurants, but hey, as a professional speaker, I'm only interested in finding these types of people, these types of events, this type of information. Could you just build a Google for me? But no, that's ludicrous. They're not going to do that. But so what I've developed is a template that allows me to create a Google search overlay. So I use basically artificial intelligence, machine learning. So based on what you type in and the button that you click, I'll build what's called a Boolean algorithm, a 30 to 50 word mathematical equation underneath that, feed that into Google, and then Google brings back the results that you care about.
Wow. I love that. I love it, because you can go to Google and you could type in conferences, you can type in leaders, you could do all of this stuff, but then what you'll get like some crazy advertisements with your stuff.
Right.
I actually used it. You click a button and I go straight to the proposal page.
Correct. Yep. Oftentimes you go right to the proposal page.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Right to the proposal page, which is unheard of, because there's a lot of people or a lot of speakers out there that what they're doing is they're looking for the contact of the person, and it'll take them weeks and weeks to find that contact. And then once they find the contact says, hey, fill out your proposal at this website. And it might be, the deadline might have already passed, but that's what I like about your program, is that I can type in leadership conferences, leadership needs, and then I can do that. But also the tool that I like, one of the tools that I like the most, is if I'm doing a recon mission. I think that's one of the buttons.
Yeah, recon. Yep.
Yeah, doing it. I know your product, man.
That's awesome.
I can go on and on, but I like the idea of being able to get someone's email address in that company. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I'll show you something really quick. Here, I'm going to
let's do it.
Turn my screen into the monitor. So this is a different Intel engine. This is kind of the premium one, not the speaker one that we've been talking about. But I'll give you an example of what I mean by kind of a Google search overlay. So a sales trigger is a disruption. What's going on in the other person's world where they might want to take your call. So as a motivational speaker, you might want to go in and say, I'd really love to speak in Dallas. Which companies might be interested in having me in Dallas? And so, for example, a leadership change. Anytime there's a leadership change, they're bringing in a new CEO or a president, they might need somebody to come in and motivate the team, motivate the troops. And so, what this is there's about a 50-word equation here that's pulling up these results, but all you had to do is type in Dallas leadership change, or maybe a company that is receiving funding. They might want to have somebody come in and, hey, we're growing as an organization. We need somebody to come in and talk about, growth and culture change. You can click on the funding activity button. Notice I didn't type in anything else. I just left it with Dallas. And here are the companies in Dallas that are receiving funding. And then I could go in, grab the company name, and find all the people who work at that company, using that in the Intel engine. So that's kind of the method behind the madness and how that all works. But that was like an example of, so for you in your business, you could say, well, geez, every company in America should hire me. They probably should, right? But one of the things that you can laser focus your sales efforts on as a professional speaker, say, well, who's likely to hire me? It's not only people that are already having conferences, but maybe organizations that are going through change, organizations that are hiring a new leader, gone through a merger or an acquisition, they're relocating. Those are also companies that you might want to reach out to because there's something going on in their world where they might need your solution. So does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. That you say it so beautifully. And it sounds, for anybody that's listening to this, I know it might sound technical, but if I can get in there and fat finger my way around there, then I think anybody can. And I'm like, man, I'm showing everybody my secret weapon. This is my secret weapon.
I'll tell you, I just built one I'm building one to help find veterans, to help find members, graduates of the service academies, current members of service, and veterans. And so, for example, why do you care, Tony? Because let's say you're making a sales call. Do you think you're going to have a better success if let's say you're looking for a CEO? If you could find a CEO of a company who also is a former Marine, do you think you'd have better success getting through the door? Absolutely. Right. And when I look at your background and some of the things you've done with your life, if you can find people that have had similar work experiences, do you think you'll have a better chance of getting through the door? Absolutely. And that's really what sales intelligence is all about, is finding those common connections and really helping other people.
Wow. That's good. That's good. Let's see. Let's go through some comments really quick, and I won't hold you for too long. This is really good stuff. 20 years of work, then you become a natural brilliant.
Yeah. Well, you know where that comes from, Tony, is there's an old story about, I think it was the plumber, right? The plumber comes over to the guy's house. Something's broken. Let's call it the water heater's broken. Plumber comes, fixes the water. The plumber comes, and all he's got to do is tighten a screw. And then he gives the guy a bill for $100. The guy says, $100? You were here for 3 minutes. All you did is tighten the screw. And he goes, yeah, tightening the screw was $3. Learning which screw to tighten, that took me 30 years. That's the $97. I screwed that up a little bit, but it's the same concept. The concept of the overnight success, took the 30 years to become an overnight success kind of thing.
Yeah. Amanda Coleman says, love it. The art of speaking. Yeah. What that brings me to a good question. What books do you feel like helped you kind of along the way, as far as like selling, as far as speaking? You already named the one that you use for speaking, but as far as selling and any other books that you think that might be good for anybody else that's listening.
Absolutely. Well, if you don't read any books, I'm going to give you the 3 that you just need to memorize. The first one, again, I'll be repetitive: How to Win Friends and Influence People. I've got a lot of friends who are best-selling authors, and I'll go to them and I'll say, hey, you're chapter 15. That's chapter 6 in Carnegie, isn't it? It's a variation of it. This book was written in the 1920s, and it's brilliant. And it's been updated. Some of the language used in the 1920s was different than the language used today. But I would encourage everybody to get and try to memorize How to Win Friends and Influence People. Another book that I love is Napoleon's Hill, Think and Grow Rich.
I'm reading that right.
Because again, that's the mindset one. You're reading it right now?
Oh yeah.
Book, right?
Changing my life.
It is. It's a life-changing book because it's a mindset thing. And then the other one that I really recommend, it's a Carnegie one again, but it's How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. Because listen, we all worry. I worry too much. Oftentimes my worries are completely irrelevant or completely illogical, especially those ones at 3 a.m, right? So that book helps you put logic behind the worries, helps you plan. There's a lot of things that you can control in life that will remove those worries. And that's what I really love those books. So those 3 books, plus I'm a big fan of Harvey Mackay's work, How to Swim with the Sharks. Harvey's a dear friend and mentor of mine. There's so many. Mark Hunter, from a sales perspective, Mark Hunter's work, Meredith Elliott Powell's work, Mary Kelly's work, Jeb Blunt, Anthony Marino, Mike Weinberg, all of those folks that just have great sales books.
Oh, good deal. So this is my favorite question. Does listening to books count as reading them?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I have a son who goes to the University of Missouri, so it's about an 8-hour drive to go down there. So I try to tackle, 1 to 2 books on my way down and back. So I don't think we retain as much. So I'm reading a book right now. Excuse me. Last time I went down, I just dropped my son off at Missouri, and I was listening to Jeb Blount's book, Fanatical Prospecting, and I was listening to it, and about maybe an hour or two in, I'm like, it was great to listen to, but I need the physical copy because this is a book that I need to take notes on and write in the margins and highlight, put Post-it notes. So I think it's sometimes hard to listen to business books, business theoretical books like the 3 we talked about, fine. But I think business practical books like, hey, here's a tip, here's something you should put in your sales script. That's a little harder. Now, what I'm doing is I'm going back and listening to it, and then I have the physical book, and I'm making notes and doing all those sorts of things.
That's a good idea, because that's funny you mentioned that, because Think and Grow Rich, that's my book that I'm reading right now for personal development and personal growth. But then I got a few other books that I listen to while I'm working out. I can't listen to Think and Grow Rich because I'm trying to pull out my phone and take notes, because it's one of those kind of books where you have to take notes. I mean, I think he tells you you're not. Yeah, in the beginning he says this is not a book that you leisurely look into. You need to take notes because it is going to change your life, and in fact it does. Let's see. An extrovert, introvert.
I don't have my glasses on, so let me put them on so I can read that. It says ambivert. I love it. An extroverted introvert. Yeah.
I never heard that word before.
Well, I think I would consider myself that as well. Like this kind of interaction is fine. Being on a stage in front of 10,000 people, fine. Invite me to the cocktail party before the night, like I'm speaking. I'm like, oh my goodness, do I have to go to this? I'm nervous. I don't know people. By the way, Kenneth, one of the things I've learned is to try to find out, like if it's a party or a business meeting, try to find out, do your homework, do some sales intelligence on people before you go in the room. And it could be as simple as just asking who's going to be attending, look at their LinkedIn profile, and try to find something in common. I can tell you that when I do that, when I know something about another person that gives me confidence to ask a good question, my introvertedness starts to melt away a little bit. So that's another positive aspect of sales intelligence, or you can call it relationship intelligence. Find out a little bit about somebody before you go in the room. You'll notice that introvertedness will also melt away.
Oh, that's good stuff. That reminds me of back when I was looking for jobs. What I would do is I would go on LinkedIn to study people, right? Study what they're into, the kind of things that they're posting. And that would make me feel at ease. Just like going in a room, I always show up for speaking engagements, whether it's virtual or not, virtual especially, I show up, 20, 30 minutes early and just start talking with people, because it helps me out quite a bit, because, I told you I have that afraid kind of, oh my God, are they going to like me? And then that's what helped me get to the point to where I can go on stage, I can kill it. And then afterwards I can go back into my little introverted shell.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's see what else we got. 2 legendary speakers here. Loving the clean screen layout. Tony Taylor,
that's
super
awesome.
fresh. I appreciate you.
I
Travis.
do like your layout, Tony. It's beautiful.
Thank you. I work on it, man. It's never perfect for me. I'm always like, I should change this. I should change. Let's see. Savor the flavor of the awesomeness in you for joining us tonight. Yes.
Oh,
we have the best group here. Hello, sir. Yeah, everybody loves you.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, this is fun.
Yeah, I appreciate you for coming on the show. I'm gonna close us out. Will you stick around?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
All right. You got any closing words for us before you depart?
No, I just think, it's just kind of what we've talked about. You realize that it's all about people. And I think in our world today, we get so caught up in so many political things and all these things that make people angry. And if I would just leave with one thing. It's just let's just start being nice to each other. I think, and most people are. I mean, the people that are listening, watching tonight, I'm sure you're just like really nice people. And I believe that all of us are nice. And sometimes we get on social media and we get angry, or we see what other people are putting out. And I think right now what we all need is just a little bit more niceness in the world, supporting each other, supporting each other's endeavors. And I think that if we all start doing that, we'll all be happier and more successful.
That was beautiful. Thank you. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. This has been a blessing. I know it's been a blessing for me and also the audience. So hang tight. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks.
All right. That was amazing. That was amazing. I'm super glad that you joined me this Friday. I know that it's the end of the week. So that makes me like really appreciate you guys even more, because I know you got a lot of things going on in your life. I want to make sure to tell you before we close up, please take care of yourself. Please take care of the things that you're watching, the things that you're consuming in your body, whether it's in your mouth, whether it's inside of your head. Take care of yourself. I will see you next week. Bye.